All right, what a great game if you're a Boston Celtics fan. I know I'm about 30 minutes late for technical live instant reaction, but I'm still live. And so it's just slightly delayed. I got to do the process of traveling from where I watched the game back to the studio here. I want to also gather my thoughts and be able to analyze the game with a little bit more contemplation. But the most important thing is that, in I think my mind and pretty much everybody's mind, the Celtics season was really on the line here in Game Two. You can't go down 2 games to nothing, losing both your home games in the NBA playoffs, and expect to realistically come back and win a series. So being down 1-0 heading into this Game Two, it was do or die time for the Celtics. And to their immense credit, they came out and played like exactly that. They came out like a house on fire, um, offensively, defensively, executing their game plan, playing their type of basketball. Shots were falling. They were playing intense defensively. Um, and Milwaukee, once they got punched in the mouth early in the game, was never able to recover. They climbed back into it, making it like a 12-point game, a 13, I think maybe 11 at one point. But the Celtics were able to keep Milwaukee's rallies to small rallies, 6-0, 7-0, 8-2s, those types of rallies. So always keeping them at arm's length to the point where they were able to control this game for all 4 quarters of it. And they did that without Marcus Smart, who was announced about an hour prior to game time was going to be ruled out with a thigh contusion, which put even more pressure on the Celtics, heading into this game, knowing that it was a do or die game. And then your emotional leader, defensive player of the year, starting point guard's not there. Celtics could have really felt that and packed it in and not played well to start this game. Instead, it was the exact opposite. And now they're going to head to Milwaukee, tied at 1 game apiece, which I think, that makes sense based off of how competitive a matchup I expect this to be. Um, I expect that in Milwaukee, the Celtics and Bucks will likely split as well. Um, just it's great though to see that just because the Celtics played really poorly in Game One and did a lot of things that reminded people of the Celtics from the early part of the season, that doesn't mean that they've reverted back to that, and that they can have these 1 game anomalies where they can go back, look at the film, or take a step back and say, we can play better than that. We know we're better than that. We're going to be able to figure this, that, and the other thing out and play the basketball that has been phenomenal for the past 3-4 months. And that's exactly what they did tonight. And so credit goes to the players, to the coaching staff. They did a really good job adjusting from Game One to Game Two. And as I talked about before, when I was doing the pick and roll show with Sap the other day, talking about this series and the Celtics lost in Game One, this is the first time Emi Udoka has had to make an adjustment game to game, because in the Brooklyn series, obviously they swept Brooklyn, so don't have to make, if you're the winning team, you don't really have to make that many adjustments. And being on the wrong side of a loss, and especially one where it wasn't that competitive in the second half, especially in Game One, I wanted to see that Coach Udoka would be able to make adjustments from 1 game to another. And he was forced into, starting Derek White at point guard. Not really an adjustment we thought the Celtics needed to make or wanted to make. And frankly, he didn't help. He was one of the only players who didn't help the team at all tonight, which is why you should sometimes just totally ignore the plus minus numbers, because he was a plus 22, tied for best on the team, even though he had a really, really piss poor night. But Udoka delivered, and the Celtics players delivered. We were able to put that Game One behind them completely, and came out so strong in the first quarter and continued to play really good basketball. Um, their defense was every bit the elite defense that has been advertised. They The most points they gave up in a quarter was 26. In the third quarter, Milwaukee, that's unbelievable. The first quarter, they gave up 29, 19 in the second, 26 in the third, and 20 in the fourth. I mean, that is putting the clamps on somebody. Milwaukee has one of the best offenses in the league, even with Chris Middleton out. You saw they can be a potent offense, and you completely shut them down. I mean, held them to 86 points. Second consecutive game, Giannis didn't shoot particularly well from the court. They're making it difficult for him at the rim, as difficult as it can be for him. Um, and you saw a lot more of this game. The Celtics implement their style of basketball, what they want to do, versus game one. Milwaukee was able to impose their style and what they wanted to do. And I think a big reason why the Celtics were able to get off to such a quick start was something that actually Sapp, and I'll give him credit, I should tweet this out to him, alluded to, is that, why not? What's wrong with taking a couple of mid-range jumpers if the Bucks are giving you that? The Celtics took 53s last game. Today they took 43, so still a lot. But to open the game up, the Celtics weren't going to just do what Milwaukee wanted them to do, which was launch threes. Their first, I think, 4 of the first 6 points were mid-range shot from Al Horford, mid-range shot from Jalen Brown, and I think their first shot was a shot at the basket that Derek White missed. So more of an effort to give Milwaukee different things to think about to start the game. I'm not saying take long twos, take mid-range shots the whole game, but the fact that you were taking them and making them makes Milwaukee then have to change their defensive strategy a little bit. And the Celtics were able to parlay that quick opening salvo to getting more open looks at the rim, to getting better looks from three. It changed the whole complexion of the game. Just the fact that they were willing to take what's now the taboo shot in the NBA, that mid-range shot. There's no reason that it should be, forbidden to take that shot. It helped the Celtics win the game tonight. Regardless of how many they ended up taking, starting off like that and being able to knock those shots down changed the complexion of the game and changed how Milwaukee looked at things defensively. That's something the Celtics did not do in game one. And I think that, again, even though it was 4 points, 6 points in the first couple of minutes of the game from the mid-range, it changed how the Bucks approached their defensive effort and their defensive philosophy. And so I do think that was a big factor. Obviously, the biggest factor in the first half of this game was Jalen Brown was phenomenal, could not miss, was just a man on a mission after playing a very poor game one. And clearly, he took that personally, whether it was his quad getting better or just that he had an off game and it was, I'm saying I'm not going to let this team down again. I don't know what it was, but he was phenomenal in the first half. Jason Tatum was phenomenal in the second half, specifically the fourth quarter. And you got an unbelievably great game from Grant Williams. You got Peyton Pritchard contributing in the first half. Al Horford was tremendous again tonight. Rob Williams played a very solid game. So you got varied production from the starters, except for Derek White, and then you got a big lift from your bench. So that the Celtics played a completely different type of game than they did in game one, and I think they looked at all the things they did poorly and made a big adjustment to that. Now, obviously, a big part of it too is you can't discredit the fact that in game one, Celtics were taking and missing a lot of open looks. And in game two, they were knocking down a lot of those. Sometimes it is a make list league. I hate saying that. I don't like that opinion. I think over the stretch of a playoffs series, that's not really the case. You're either a good shooting team or you're not a good shooting team. But the Celtics were knocking down their 3-point attempts tonight. I'll just read off a few numbers for you. Just Peyton Pritchard 2 of 4 from 3, Jalen Brown 6 of 10 from 3, Jason Tatum 5 of 10 from 3. Those are great numbers. The Celtics as a team shot 20 of 43 from the 3-point line, 46.5%. That's outstanding. Very, very hard to beat a team when they shoot that great from 3. Conversely, Milwaukee just 3 of 18 from 3, 16.7%. That's kind of all you need to know about the game right there. The Celtics won the turnover battle too, 11-16. That obviously helps. Celtics win the rebounding battle 40-37. So close in both those things. But the big number there is, like I said, that 3-point percentage, 3 of 18 for Milwaukee, 20 of 43 for Boston. That tells the whole story right there. And then take into account how well the Celtics defense played. And you have yourself a blowout win. And that's exactly what the Celtics did tonight to tie things up at 1 game apiece. So 109-86 is the final score here. Let's take a look at the box score for both teams because this is a playoff. So we're not just going to look at the Celtics. We'll start with them, though. Their starters tonight were Tatum, Horford, Rob Williams, Jalen Brown, and Derek White filling in for Marcus Smart. Tatum played a lot this game, 43 minutes for Jason Tatum. Shot really well from the floor, 10 of 20, 5 of 10 from 3, 3 rebounds, 8 assists, 3 steals, a block, 4 turnovers, 3 fouls, and 29 points. Came on really strong in the fourth quarter, especially. Tatum is obviously the closer for this team, and he closed out this game. Milwaukee was trying to make, again, a couple of runs. Tatum was not allowing that to happen in the fourth quarter, and completely shut that down, including hitting a three with about 3 or 4 minutes left. That just completely was the dagger in this game before Milwaukee sent all their reserves onto the court. Al Horford, very, very good, solid effort from him tonight with a double-double and some excellent defense. 37 minutes for Al, 4 of 9 from the floor, 1 of 5 from 3. He hit both of his free throws, 11 boards, 3 assists, 4 steals for Al Horford, a block, a turnover, 5 fouls, and 11 points. Can't ask for much more from Al Horford than playing a lot of minutes, tough D, double, 4 steals. I mean, filled up the whole stat sheet. Excellent game from Al. Rob Williams starting to look better and better, I think, as he's getting more minutes under him. This is the first game since he's been back that he actually made, I think, an actual impact in it. 25 minutes, 4 of 5 from the floor, including a little 10, 12-foot jumper, which you never see from him. He knocked that down. 5 boards, an assist, 2 blocks, a turnover, 5 fouls, and 10 points. This was a very chippy game. A lot of fouls called in it. Derek White played awful again. He was a plus 22, but he was awful in this game. And just continues, of all the Celtics that have played in the postseason, he's been the worst one, which is very disheartening considering they got him to be a big piece and he plays big minutes. And he's just not lived up to it. He looks scared to shoot, and when he does shoot, it's bad. Finishes with 28 minutes, 0 of 6 from the floor, 0 of 4 from 3. And by the way, most of those, if not all of those, were wide open. Didn't take a free throw attempt. 4 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, 2 turnovers, 5 fouls, and no points. Yeah, really, Celtics were lucky that other players really stepped up because Derek White had the opportunity filling in for Marcus Smart to step up and play a really big game and had to play a big role, and he fell flat on his face. So that continues to be a problem, especially his awful shooting. The defense is going to be fine with him, but he's hard to play when he just cannot hit the broadside of a barn, and that's what he's been like all postseason long, unfortunately. And then Jalen Brown, as we alluded to, huge first half. I think he had 25 of his 30 points in the first half, just was outstanding. I think he had 17 in the first quarter, could not miss. 38 minutes, 11 of 18 from the floor, 6 of 10 from 3. Hit both of his free throw attempts, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. Nice number for him there. 2 steals, a block, 2 turnovers, 1 foul, 30 points on the night. Excellent game from Jalen Brown, who set the tone in this game early. Grant Williams was phenomenal off the bench. 35 minutes, 7 of 14 from the floor, 6 of 9 from 3, 1 of 2 from the free throw line, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 fouls, and 21 points. Huge game from him. Played also phenomenal defense on Giannis. Picked up, fouls on Giannis. He was awesome. One of his best games in his career, and it came in a huge game. So again, this is somebody I was all over last year and ragging on, and I think rightfully so. And he has improved his game dramatically, where he's a valuable player on this team, and he's an important piece of the team. So he deserves so much credit because he's stepped up big time. He had a fantastic game tonight. And Peyton Pritchard off the bench, I said 2 of 6 from the floor. They were both 3, so 2 of 4 from 3. 3 rebounds, 3 assists, turnover, 1 foul, and 6 points. And those 2 threes were big. They helped grow the Celtics lead early in this game. He didn't have any impact really later in the game, but he was one of the many Celtics who were hitting early in the game, and it helped put it away early as much as you can put a game away early. So both guys deserve credit off the bench. Essentially, what the Celtics did without Marcus Smart was a 7-man rotation. Everybody else played in garbage time. So that means a lot of minutes for your starters and those 2 guys off the bench, but it worked. And the Celtics will certainly go back to an 8-man rotation with Smarts available. Hopefully that is on Saturday, as he gets plenty of rest. And the Celtics can go back to the 8-man rotation, or maybe they stick with 7 and don't play Derek White because he's not earning any minutes right now. On the Bucks side, on the losing side, starters were Giannis, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, Drew Holiday, Wes Matthews. The role players in the Bucks much less effective today than they were in game 1. Brook Lopez did not play particularly well. He finished with just 2 points on 1 of 2 shooting in 25 minutes. He did have 3 blocks, so he still had an effect on the rim, but not as good defensively as he was in game one, and didn't provide any scoring punch for them at all. Bobby Portis still played well, but the Celtics were able to limit him a little bit more, especially not allowing him to make any threes as he was 0-2 from there. He did have 13 points. Drew Holiday played well, but a lot less efficient than he was in game one. Finished just 7 of 20 from the floor and 1 of 6 from three, 19 points in 40 minutes. Celtics will absolutely live with that. As far as other guys, Grayson Allen, who had a nice game in game one against the Celtics, not too effective tonight with just 5 points. Javon Carter, another guy, very good in game one, only 2 points tonight. The Celtics really did a good job making things difficult for Giannis. 38 minutes. He did have 28 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 9 rebounds, but he also had 6 turnovers and he shot 11 of 27 from the floor. And so you absolutely live with that. Giannis is usually very efficient. They made him not efficient tonight. And that's all you can really ask because he's going to get his numbers 28, 9, and 7 for him. That's, he does that in his sleep. All you can do is make him work for it. And the Celtics did tonight. And that's a big reason why they won this game. So the Celtics will certainly try to replicate the things they did tonight in Milwaukee. Milwaukee will make adjustments. But a lot of it's going to come down to the Celtics being able to knock down their open shots, continue to play frustrating defense on Giannis and make him as inefficient as possible, and also limiting those role players, limiting guys like Grayson Allen, Javon Carter, and Bobby Portis as much as possible. That's going to be key for the Celtics. And if they can get anything out of Derek White, that would be ideal. Let's check in the comments. I see Glenn Caesar is here. Thank you, Glenn. Hi, congrats on a big win tonight. 17 more made 3-pointers than Milwaukee, so 1-1 now. Like I said, I think it's a 7-game series. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I had the Celtics in 6, I think, but many people have it as a 7-game series. I could absolutely see it going 7 games. These two teams know each other well and seem very evenly matched and play a very similar physical defensive brand of basketball. So I expect it to be a competitive series. And just because something's a deep series doesn't mean each game is going to be close. As you saw in game one and game two, both relative blowouts. And sometimes that happens in a series. That's actually pretty common in series that go deep. It's not weird for one team to blow out another team in the series to go to 6 or 7 games. Look at the Nets series. That was 4-game sweep. All those games were close. So it's not necessarily a rhyme or reason to it. But thanks, Glenn, for commenting. Thanks, everybody, where you're watching now or after the fact. I'll be back talking more Celtics on Saturday. So we have a long layoff until then. But for now, great win. Season saved. Series tied 1 game apiece. And we will have to see who takes that pivotal game 3 in Milwaukee. Talk to you then, everybody. See ya.